To build the fork that we need for the back wheel, we can again utilize the same technique or approach we used for the fork or the handlebar. So I'm going to edit mode, and I have to adjust my mesh a little bit. So this cross section, I'm going to move down a little bit, or more. I'll move it a little bit inside. So I have to adjust this mesh a little bit, and then I'm going to add another loop cut. Actually, hold on, I'm not doing another loop cut. I'm just deleting this first, and then this edge I'm going to extrude out a little bit, and then I fill it, because I can select now this face and, for example, extrude, then move it out, rotate a little bit, you see, and then I do it a second time, extrude, rotate, reposition it maybe till there. And then press E and move it out maybe till there. I might have to do a little bit of fixing some of the irregularities here, so I try from a side view to have a layout that the top edges are similar. Okay, so that should do it. Okay, so let's take a look from here. That looks, well, looks somewhat pretty good. Maybe this is all a little bit too far out, so I'm going to maybe select all those points here and maybe move them in just a notch. And those points here are rotated, so I move this one over to straighten everything so that the surfaces are actually vertical above each other. Scaling along the x-axis so they're straight. Okay, and it's very important that you try to clean up the mesh before you start adding more details, because if you then need to clean up something, it's a heck harder to do than when you have only a limited amount of points to work with. So for example, in this case now I could maybe try to rebuild my initial orientation like this. This part is a little bit too fat, so I move it in. But as we can see, I have a small issue here with my wheel, so maybe those faces first I'm scaling together along the x-axis, and then I move it along the y-axis till hopefully, yeah, I reach a point where it does not touch the wheel anymore. Okay, good. That works. So let's assume that design is okay. So what I can do now is I can cut open the space, and then I select all those faces. And because I modeled very precisely, I could press Shift D to duplicate it, press Escape, I don't move it. Then I can press Control M to mirror. And then I would like to go along the x-axis, so I press X, press Enter, and then I can move it out. So you see this way I duplicated that mesh and then mirrored it. And then again with my point or vertex snapping turned on, I can press G, move it close, press Control, and then snap it. And if I worked precisely and clean, I should simply be able, by selecting those 8 points, press W, say remove doubles, and it should remove 4 points. And that's correct. Control N to clean it up. So there we are. Let's maybe take a look at our reference part. Okay, they have a different frame, so ours doesn't fit necessarily, but we're very close to that. In terms of styling, because if I, for example, select this loop cut, you see that it selects this loop. It's kind of like a U. I can easily now go ahead, like with the fork, and say, well, the center part, sharpen a little bit. Actually, if I want the outer edge to sharpen a little bit as well, I can do this. And then you see how the subsurface modifier blends all the surface details together. I could remove it. I don't want that. Maybe this arc that dips down here is too much, so I can go ahead and by hand resculpt some of those details. And then reapply maybe that creasing a little bit. Let's take a look at down here. Yeah, this is all too low for my taste. So I'm moving it down. You see it dips down here a little bit, so I have to see how maybe I can, or if I can fix this. And that's sometimes the downside of subdivision surface modeling, because it gives you certain freedom and abilities not found with NURBS, but then it also has its own drawbacks, and yeah, I can't really fix it, so I have to sink it in a little bit more. Okay, but maybe this lower part I can scale apart a little bit, and maybe this part as well, so that maybe from here I have a different flow. Maybe I need to do this a little bit more aggressive. Okay, yeah, I can't really unfortunately do more, because this edge, if I remove this and select only this loop cut and fill it, yeah, see, then it flows a little bit better. So again, this is one of those situations where the topology of my polygon mesh forces, because here's an edge for Blender to crease the surface here. But still, that looks pretty good. And Also with other programs, it's always an issue about what do you want to model and what does the program allow you actually to model. A little bit of cleanup. Okay, so that's for example then how we can quickly build in the fork.